Putin was born on October 7, 1952 in Leningrad. I come from a simple family, and I lived this life for a very long time, almost my entire adult life. I lived like an ordinary normal person, and I always have this connection, recalls Putin. Vladimir Putin's mother, Maria Ivanovna Shelemova, was a very gentle, benevolent person. Vladimir Putin's father, Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin, was a war participant. In the 50s he served as a security guard at a carriage building plant, and later was a foreman at the plant. Photo from Vladimir Putin's personal archive. Father was born in St. Petersburg in 1911. When the First World War began, life in St. Petersburg became difficult and hungry, and the whole family left for the village of Pomanovo in the Tver region, the homeland of my grandmother. The house where they lived, by the way, still stands today. Relatives go there on vacation. There, in Pomanovo, my father met my mother. They got married when they were 17 years old, says Putin. In the 6th grade, Putin set himself the goal that he needed to achieve something in life. He began to study without C grades, which came easily to him. Then he was accepted into the Pioneers, and immediately after that he became chairman of the detachment's council. It became clear that yard skills were not enough, and I started playing sports. But this resource did not last long to maintain its, so to speak, status. It was also necessary to study well, says Putin. 1970s higher education Leningrad State University and KGB Higher School in 1970. Vladimir Putin entered the Faculty of Law of Leningrad State University, from which he graduated in 1975. In the late 70s and early 80s, Putin graduated from the Moscow KGB Higher School No. 1. Even before Vladimir Putin graduated from school, he had a desire to work in intelligence. To find out how one becomes an intelligence officer, he went to the reception room of the KGB Directorate. There he was told that first he needed to either serve in the army or graduate from a university, preferably a law school. And from that moment I began to prepare for the law department of Leningrad University, says Putin. Even before Vladimir state security bodies after Putin graduated from Leningrad State University, he was assigned to work in state security agencies. My ideas about the KGB arose on the basis of romantic stories about the work of intelligence officers, says Putin. He was first assigned to the department's secretariat, then to the counterintelligence unit, where he worked for about 5 months. 6 months later he was sent to retraining courses for operational personnel. State security bodies after Putin graduated from Leningrad State University, he was assigned to work in state security agencies. My ideas about the KGB arose on the basis of romantic stories about the work of intelligence officers, says Putin. He was first assigned to the department's secretariat, then to the counterintelligence unit, where he worked for about 5 months. 6 months later he was sent to retraining courses for operational personnel. 1980s wedding in Germany. There was something about him. After finishing his studies at the Andropov Red Banner Institute, where Vladimir Putin was prepared for a trip to Germany, in 1985 he went to the GDR and worked there until 1990. But before leaving, more than one important event happened in his life. Photo from Vladimir Putin's personal archive. Wife Lyudmila Vladimir Putin and Lyudmila Shkrebneva were introduced by a mutual friend. Lyudmila worked as a flight attendant on domestic flights and flew with a friend to Leningrad for 3 days. They got married on July 28, 1983. Vladimir and Lyudmila Putin were married until 2013. Daughters Maria and Katerina in 1985. Before leaving for Germany, Vladimir and Lyudmila Putin had a daughter, Maria. The youngest, Katerina, was born in 1986, already in Dresden. Dresden in 1985 to 1990. Vladimir Putin worked in the GDR. He served at the Territorial Reconnaissance Point in Dresden. Based on his seniority, he was promoted to the rank of lieutenant colonel and senior assistant to the department head. And in 1989 he was awarded a bronze medal for outstanding services to the National People's Army of the GDR. My work was going well. It was considered normal if there was one promotion in a position while working on a business trip abroad. I was promoted twice, says Putin. Leningrad, Moscow. After returning from Germany to Leningrad, Vladimir Putin, from 1990, held the position of assistant to the rector of Leningrad State University for International Affairs. In 1996, he and his family moved to Moscow, where his political career began. Leningrad, St. Petersburg. In 1990, after returning from Dresden to Leningrad, Vladimir Putin took up the position of assistant to the rector of Leningrad State University for International Affairs. It was with pleasure that I went under the roof of Leningrad State University in hopes of writing a PhD thesis, seeing how things were going there, and maybe staying to work at Leningrad State University. So, in 1990, I became assistant to the university rector for international relations, Putin recalls. Soon he became an advisor to the chairman of the Leningrad City Council. Since June 1991, Putin began working as chairman of the Committee for Foreign Relations of the St. Petersburg City Hall and, at the same time, since 1994, as first deputy chairman of the government of St. Petersburg. After moving to work at the Leningrad City Hall, Putin submitted a report on his dismissal from the KGB of the USSR. Moscow. Premier with perspective. In 1996, Vladimir Putin moved with his family to Moscow, as he was offered the post of Deputy Administrator of the President of the Russian Federation. I can't say that I didn't love Moscow. I just loved Peter more. But Moscow is quite obviously a European city, recalls Putin. His career developed rapidly. In March 1997, Putin became deputy head of the administration of the President of the Russian Federation, head of the main control directorate of the President of the Russian Federation. Despite his workload, in 1997 he defended his PhD thesis in economics at the St. Petersburg State Mining Institute. In May 1998, Putin was already the first deputy head of the presidential administration of the Russian Federation. In July 1998 he was appointed director of the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation, and at the same time, from March 1999, secretary of the Security Council of the Russian Federation. And already in August 1999, Vladimir Putin became chairman of the government of the Russian Federation. Russian President Boris Yeltsin offered him this post. Acting President of the Russian Federation. Before the new year 2000, Russian President Boris Yeltsin invited Vladimir Putin to become acting president. 2 or 3 weeks before the new year, Boris Nikolaevich invited me to his office and said that he had decided to leave. Thus, I will have to become acting president, Putin recalls. According to him, it was difficult for him to make a decision, since it was a rather difficult fate. December 31, 1999, Vladimir Putin becomes acting president of the Russian Federation. 2000's President and Prime Minister of the Russian Federation. You should always think about the future. Always look forward. On March 26, 2000, Vladimir Putin was elected President of the Russian Federation, and on March 14, 2004, he was elected President of the Russian Federation for a second term. On May 8, 2008, by presidential decree, he was appointed Chairman of the Government of the Russian Federation. President of the Russian Federation. Vladimir Putin was elected President of the Russian Federation on March 26, 2000. On May 7, 2000, he assumed his position.